This is the News at 10. Live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Melinda Akilami.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, federal government restates resolve to end crude oil theft in the country, vows drastic action against the menace as delegation on the security of oil and gas assets visits the Niger Delta region. The president challenges U.S. government to collaborate with African countries to deepen democracy on the continent, promises to prioritize Nigeria's interests in handling of the Niger crisis by ECOWAS. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation raises concerns about the rising water level along the River Benue, urges residents of flood-prone areas to move to higher ground. And President Vladimir Putin issues decree asking Wagner Group employees and other Russian private military contractors to swear allegiance to the Russian state.
On Business News tonight, the Nigeria Communications Commission says the telecoms industry attracted about $399 million as foreign investments in 2022.
On Sports News tonight, FIFA suspends Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales from all football activities for 90 days over unwanted kiss on the lips of World Cup winner Jenny Hermoso.
We begin from the Niger Delta, where the federal government has restated its determination to end crude oil theft at all costs. The government said it has become more important to take drastic action to end the menace in order to increase revenue, restore peace in the region, and improve the environment for the people. The federal government's position was made known by its delegation on the security of oil and gas assets during a visit to the governor in Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital.
The federal government delegation on the security of oil and gas assets, led by the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, kicks off the tour of the Niger Delta with a visit to Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State. The delegation consists of the Chief of Defense Staff, the two Ministers of Defense, both ministers in the petroleum sector, and the group CEO of NNPC Limited. The group says this call on the state is in line with the order of President Bola Tinubu to end crude oil theft.
As you see us here, this is the entire federal mine network. Strategic individuals and officers are here assembled. Ministers, NNPC, the presidency, the military, we are all here. This is a clear demonstration of a commitment, and I believe that indeed time has come for us to more or less say, like what the Minister of Defense is enough, open a new chapter.
The team comprising of all the stakeholders in security and oil and gas are committed to end this menace, whatever it takes, for the interests of the country and for the interests of our development.
For the Chief of Defense Staff, the nation's armed forces will leave no stone unturned to live up to the expectation in terms of military action.
I want to assure you that with the new drive, why we're here today is to show you that we are committed and united in ensuring that there's security so that we can restore the benefits, the health, provide a healthy environment for the people of Rivers State and indeed the entire Niger Delta.
The Ministers of State for Petroleum, Gas and Oil, who are from the Niger Delta, are asking the stakeholders in the region to support the efforts to improve the economy, security and the environment.
All these illegal bunkering and illegal refineries are polluting the environment, which is inimical to the health of your people. So we have to work as a team to restore the state for a better tomorrow.
Let me use the opportunity to solicit the support of Your Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, and by extension, the governors of the key states of the region, are working very closely with the federal government to address these challenges that are facing us.
Governor Siminalayi Fubara believes a holistic approach must be taken by the delegation to get lasting result that will be beneficial to both the federal and the state governments. He bears his mind on the issue of contract for pipelines protection in the Niger Delta region.
Security of pipeline and all those stuff should not be given to one man or one person to say, look, you're going to handle somebody from Calabar to come and control what is happening in Obebema. It's not possible now. Somebody from Obebema to come and control what is happening in Ogoni. You can understand that there's no way to work. We need to come down, look at it in such a way that we bring in all these people, all these communities, their heads, or whatever you want to call them. Well, those people you're dealing with in this other end, but look for the anchor people that can really talk to them, people that can influence you already know, I don't want to mention it. Once we're able to catch them and make them part of the process, there is no two ways about it. It will on its own just go down.
Rivers State is the first in the Niger Delta region to be visited by the federal government delegation on the security of oil and gas assets under the new administration.
After its engagement in Rivers State, the federal government delegation proceeded to Delta State, where the team inspected the premises of two companies in Koko Bori North local government area, allegedly involved in illegal oil refining and oil bunkering activities. They were said to have been uncovered by a private outfit, Tantita Security Services. The government maintained that the fight against crude oil theft, pipeline vandalism, and illegal bunkering activities in the Niger Delta region will yield positive results.
Our leadership is going around to assess our security situation so that they can respond to it and improve on the current security situation around our assets so that we can improve on our production. Currently, our production is going up because of the security intervention, and we are looking forward to greater activity and support from government to make sure this works. And part of the things that we are doing is to look at every leakage point of this transaction, and that's why we're visiting every location.
And I believe that it has become an existential problem, and we need to fight them. We need to fight these criminals to submission. What is happening here is so bad that we may not even know the implication unless, maybe when people start dying in their numbers, that's when people will know that, look, a few persons who are profiting from this crime are here to wipe all of us out. So as a government, as a responsible government, we've decided that we're going to put a stop to it. We're going to work with stakeholders to ensure that, look, we stop all this nonsense, from continuing. And we're not going to allow them to, use the opportunity to, express their gratitude to Tantita that we commissioned, by NNPC, to be able to do some work. But we need to do a lot more. And I believe that in the next few days, next few weeks, we'll do a lot more engagement to ensure that this thing is put to a total stop. We can't allow it to happen. It's a shame.
Away from the Niger Delta, the president has asked the United States government to ensure that U.S. policy is intentionally collaborative with independent African democracies. President Bola Tinubu made his position known during a meeting with U.S. Presidential Envoy and the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Ambassador Molly P. in Abuja. President Tinubu affirmed that the crisis in Niger Republic would not deter him from concluding his economic reform program for Nigeria, but promised to advance the interest of the Nigerian state in handling of the regional standoff by ECOWAS. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, also touched on some other issues discussed.
The economy, so business. We're looking at, of course, security concerns. That's the elephant in the room. What's happening in our region, what's happening in Niger, and, other things. The return to democracy and normalcy is paramount. The security concerns in the region also very important. Both sides are pleased. Of course, we're going to Anga, so there will be sideline meetings there also to continue along the same lines.
Staying in the nation's capital, where 31 victims of the building collapse that claimed 2 lives have been discharged from hospital. They were treated at the National Hospital Asokoro and 5 other hospitals in Abuja. The acting secretary of the Health and Human Service Secretariat, Mr. Noel Haruna, explains that the FCT administration is footing the medical bills of the victims.
Officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration are checking up on victims of the latest building collapse in the Garki area of the Federal Capital Territory. The 37 persons rescued from the incident were taken to the National Hospital Garki and the general hospitals in Asokoro and Nyanya, as well as 2 private hospitals.
We have seen what has happened, and currently about 31 of them have been discharged and 2 of them died. And then 4 are still in the hospital. And we have all visited them, we have seen the condition, and we have instruction of the minister to ensure that they are well taken care of. And then they should write the bills and forward them through FEMA to the Health Secretariat for onward submission to the Permanent Secretary and subsequently to the minister.
The victims are receiving treatment. However, Wednesday night's incident is still fresh in their minds.
Work on it up now. So that's why it's telling me to cover my leg like this for like 3 days. Up to now, I'm not going to do anything for my leg. That's why it's telling me.
Okay, I mean, did you live in that building or you went to get something there?
Yeah, I was go there as usual any time because I have my friend there. So most of the time in the night, when I came back to the market, so I went there so that I have a friend there. So when we discuss about for down before we go upstairs, so around by 10 o'clock, we will go upstairs together with them. After some 1 hour, 2 hours, and I will go coming back to my room and sleep. So that's what I do anytime.
After 11 in the evening, the tragedy occurred. So in the process, that is how, in the process he got himself, in fact he was injured. So we rushed him to the hospital. At the end of the day, he's now recuperating.
Charity Amadi is also a victim and she's pregnant. She's now homeless owing to the incident.
I'm looking forward to them and many Nigerians out there to help to assist. Many of us are homeless, but the clothes I'm putting on my body right now is people that gave it to me, even my children. No house to sleep. I'm just squatting in the front of one church. I really need help.
The FCT administration not only promised to foot the bills, but to ensure that all the rescued victims are able to return to their normal life.
To security matters now, a policeman on protection duty has been shot and killed in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. According to eyewitnesses, the incident, which occurred around the popular Landmark Hotel on Olu-Obasanjo Road in the metropolis, involved an inspector who was escorting his principal when he was shot at and fatally injured. The assailants were said to have escaped in a grey-colored 2005 Toyota Corolla vehicle with his service rifle. The River State Police Command spokesperson, Grace Iringe Koko, explained that the victim was attached to the Department of Operations in Yanagwa, Bayelsa State. She added that patrol teams were immediately mobilized to the scene, while efforts are ongoing to arrest the fleeing gunman. In part 2, after the break, gunmen kidnap APC leader in Kaduna State, plus civil and public servants in Imo State pledge support for the second-term bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma ahead of the November 11th governorship elections. That's in a moment. Join us again. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our main stories. Federal government restates resolve to end crude oil theft in the country, vows drastic action against menace as delegation on the security of oil and gas assets visits the Niger Delta. The president challenges U.S. government to collaborate with African countries to deepen democracy on the continent, promises to prioritize Nigeria's interest in handling of the Niger crisis by ECOWAS. Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation raises concerns about the rising water level along the River Benue, urges residents of flood-prone areas to move to higher ground. And President Vladimir Putin issues decree asking Wagner Group employees and other Russian private military contractors to swear allegiance to the Russian state. In Kaduna State, the organizing secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the state, Mr. Kawu Yakasai, has been kidnapped by gunmen. He was abducted from his village in Yakasai, Asoba local government area at about 9 p.m. yesterday. The kidnappers are yet to establish any contact with the family or the Kaduna State APC leadership, while Governor Uba Sani has condemned the incident. He has also directed security operatives to go after the kidnappers and free the victim, while reiterating his administration's resolve to ensure the safety of lives and property. According to the state government, part of steps taken to ensure security in Kaduna is the employment of 7,000 vigilantes who will complement the efforts of conventional security operatives. From Kaduna, we head to Bayelsa State, where Governor Doye Diri has announced a dusk till dawn curfew in Opunembe following the recent violence in the community. The governor has also dissolved all the youth and chieftaincy councils in the area, just when it seemed that a solution had been found to the crisis. Addressing journalists before the commencement of the Security Council meeting, Governor Diri highlighted the efforts by his administration to maintain peace in Bayelsa, as well as measures put in place to secure the people.
We have held council meetings over and over. We have talked about mopping up of arms, light and medium weapons that are all over the state. There's nothing that we have not talked about in this Security Council meeting to keep the security and the peace of Bayelsa. We are going close to November elections. The same Nembe in 2019 was a flashpoint. People were killed just as we have seen people killed. And my people say the snake cannot bite you twice. So we have to nip it in the bud. Nembe of 2023 cannot be Nembe of 2019. We are a government. As Chief Security Officer of Bayelsa State, I will work with you commanders to do everything that we need to do to bring a lasting solution to this Nembe crisis, so that people can go freely to Nembe without fear, without being intimidated, without being terrorized. So that all parties can go to Nembe and campaign according to the Constitution and the electoral law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The Nigerian Army is asking the nation's youth, social media influencers and other content creators to always put national interest first when making social media posts. The General Officer commanding 8th Division, Major General Godwin Mukut, said this at a one-day training organized by the Nigerian Army for social media influencers in Birin Kebbi in Kebbi State, which is aimed at improving national security and military-civil relations.
The Nigerian Army, in its effort to tackle insecurity in the country, is meeting with social media users and content creators. The focus of the meeting is to train the social media influencers, bloggers and the general users of social media to correct the erroneous perception about the Nigerian Armed Forces via the social media.
The program is set out to help us to see why there is a need to curtail the spread of fake news, hate speech, misinformation on social media because of the attendant effects of such unwholesome trends on the general security and image of our dear country, Nigeria.
The social media, given its efficacy and efficiency in the maintenance of cordial relations, has indeed been a vital tool towards building powerful tie between military and teaming civil population in Nigeria today.
The General Officer commanding 8th Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Godwin Mutkut, who was represented by the Chief of Staff of the 8th Division, Brigadier General Shehu Saidu, said the social media is a platform commonly used in the 21st century, and the military has keyed into the use of social media to enlighten the society on its activities.
The Nigerian Army, working jointly with other security agencies, relevant ministries, and departments and agencies of government, have achieved commendable results towards ensuring a more secure Nigeria. This notwithstanding, more need to be done to achieve the desired level of security in our society. To achieve this, there is need for all stakeholders to play their part actively. The entire youth of Nigeria, and particularly the social media influencers and bloggers, are critical stakeholders in the effort towards building a more secured and united Nigeria.
Key among the discussions was a call on social media influencers to shun the spread of fake news, hate speech, and other negative activities online that may jeopardize the peace, unity, and development of the country.
From security to politics. Ahead of the November 11th elections in Imo State, civil and public servants in the state have endorsed the second-term bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma. The head of service, Mr. Raymond Uchioma, who was speaking on behalf of workers in the state, noted that the governor's commitment and contributions to the welfare of workers in the last 3 years is commendable. He stated this at an interactive session with the governor at the state secretariat in Owerri, the state capital.
Workers in Imo at the state secretariat, waiting for the arrival of Governor Hope Uzodinma. Finally, the governor arrives and is received by the workers as he immediately proceeds to commission some reconstructed and redesigned structures within the secretariat. Next, he inspects some of the offices. Then the workers converge to express their gratitude to the governor for his commitment towards improving their welfare. The workers pledged their support for Governor Uzodinma in his re-election bid come November the 11th, 2023.
He has revamped the economy. He has revamped the road system. He has given confidence to the workers. He has made hospitality superb. He has given security. If you say education, try ignorance.
We don't have material gifts to give to you, but we are going to tell you that you have made that House of Assembly conducive for us. We no longer work in a place where we sweat. We are going to be integrated in what His Excellency is going to do to bring him back for the second time. I rest my case, My Excellency.
For Governor Uzodinma, his administration will continue to make workers' welfare a priority.
Everything we have done for you as a government is from God, not from us. So what we try to charge you, if we were able as a governor to resist the temptation of diverting your money, to resist the temptation of taking away what belongs to you, and to remain resilient to temptations and aggression, and commit yourself to your welfare and the upbringing of our children, you should be able to resist the temptation that will come from agents of Satan.
This is the governor's second visit to the state secretariat since assuming office in 2020. And the governor will be counting on the promise made by the workers here as the November governorship is.
In other stories, the Minister of Water, Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Usev, is raising concern about the rising water level along the River Benue. He says though the water level on River Niger is stable, the situation on Benue River poses high risk of flooding in states along the riverbank. According to him, records at the Nigeria Hydrological Service shows that the current water level measured at 8.97 meters on August the 25th is way higher than the 8.80 meters recorded on the same day last year.
The flow level on the River Niger system remains stable, with the level of the River Niger at Nemen, Niger Republic, standing at a normal level of 4.3 meters. Recognizing Nigeria's downstream position in relation to the 9 member countries of the Niger River Basin, it is important to acknowledge the period of heavy rainfall, flooding, and flood-related disasters that typically occur during July, August, September, and October. In light of aforementioned factors, states and local governments should intensify efforts in clearing blocked drainages and also construct new ones where they do not exist. There should be removal of illegal structures constructed within the floodplains. And the general public, especially road users, should desist from walking or driving along pool of water or flood.
Meanwhile, in Lagos State, the coastline of the nation's commercial hub is eroding. For more than a decade, the residents along the Lekki-Epe Expressway have lost businesses and properties to the ocean. While the Great Wall of Lagos was constructed to protect the shoreline of Victoria Island, many other communities still face the harsh reality of high tidal waves. Our correspondent, Ayola Kazim, tells us more in this next report.
Every time Timothy looks out of this makeshift workspace, he's constantly reminded that a relocation is imminent. While Bright, who owns the shop, is planning his 4th relocation, and this is taking its toll daily.
It's affecting me seriously because all my customers before, they have moved away from this area. Some people have left Lagos because of this water.
Erosion in Okun-Afar and other neighboring coastal communities along Lekki-Epe Expressway in Lagos is not news. Unfortunately, a former president's visit has not solved the problem. Instead, every year, residents have seen large portions of their lands washed away by the ocean.
The ocean is an extremely powerful force, and it's ready to break through the barrier that has been there for centuries, which is the beachhead. And once it breaks through that barrier, the consequences on this whole Lekki axis would be horrendous, and it would cost, instead of maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to rectify, it could actually cost billions, if not trillions of dollars, if we allow it to continue like this.
It flows. The next place that is flowing into is our beloved expressway.
The Nigerian Conservation Foundation has been at the forefront of those campaigning to put an end to the negative impact of the ocean surges on the residents. This has resulted in a visit by the senator representing the area.
Just have an idea that we can push to government, and I'm sure that I will do my part by bringing the attention of the federal government to our plight. And it's not peculiar to us. Like we said, there are other areas. But being the hometown of the current president, they may want to, it's likely they want to do something around this hometown.
For 82-year-old Dr. Adekola Akinleye, a retired civil servant, what happens after this visit is what counts. He moved to Lafiaji community, which is few kilometers from Okun-Afar, for health reasons. About 5 years after he moved, the peace he enjoys here is being threatened. The ocean is just a few yards from his home, and empty plots around him are now homes to many squatters.
I went to the Ministry of Waterfront and Infrastructure, okay, to complain. Apart from the Bar Beach, you know, nothing had been done within the last 4 or 5 years. This is not a new problem. It's been a recurring problem. But now the situation is getting worse. For example, this is supposed to be a layout now, because we have papers, we have documents for the development around here.
Today, people living in these coastal communities are living on a hope and a prayer. They are hoping that just like a lasting solution was found for Ahmadu Bello Way in Victoria Island, something will be done to save their communities, while praying that their economic situation will not be a barrier to achieving the desired results. Ayola Kasim, Channels Television News.
To infrastructure development in Enugu State, where the government says it has identified 81 roads for construction and rehabilitation within and outside the state capital. The projects will include construction of flyovers on areas with heavy vehicular movement to reduce traffic jams. The work on the roads are expected to come in sequence and be completed in record time.
Road infrastructure, one of the basic amenities required for easy movement of people, goods and services. In Enugu State, there are roads within and outside the state metropolis begging for attention, while areas like Abakpa, Trans-Ekulu Junction are difficult to ply during rush hours. The state governor, Mr. Peter Mba, is not unmindful of the situations when he promised during his election acceptance speech to tackle it head-on.
We're in a hurry to dualize the Ababa, Ugogo Nike Nsukka Road, build a monorail from Enugu to Nsukka, Udi, and Ogu, and construct a ring road to connect all the 17 local government areas of Enugu State.
This resolve is one major reason why the State Executive Council is having this meeting to deliberate on the state of the roads in Enugu State and which to come first. After the meeting, the Commissioner for Works announced the governor's plans to begin the construction of 81 roads that will connect every part of the state.
We identified about 71 roads in Enugu Urban, and we've scoped them, and we are at the verge of getting them resurfaced, rehabilitated, and reconstructed. All these things will come in sequence according to the weather, the funds as they come in, and but we are ready.
Some residents are excited about the announcement.
Yes, it's very good. But before you build that road, it's supposed to build the link road so that we can apply it before finish the bridge.
Because all the roads we are applying now is in a very bad shape. So if it's a new layout, one mount, you know, those up and are linked to Abuan Road. Abuan Road too is not all that good for now.
As residents look forward to the construction of new roads that will bring a major facelift to Enugu, the state government also assures of providing access to food security, health, and education that will bring about positive change in the lives of the people.
Health matters now. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention says its COVID-19 technical working group has been monitoring emerging variants of the Omicron variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. The NCDC explained in a statement today that the sub-variants named EG.5 and BA.2.86 are being monitored from local to global levels. While it prepares to start testing in 4 states, the agency notes that preventive actions remain good hygiene, vaccination, and the use of masks. The EG.5 subvariant has been reported in 51 countries, including China, the United States of America, the Republic of Korea, Japan, Canada, and the United Kingdom. So far, only one case of the EG.5 has been seen in Africa, but has not been identified in Nigeria. To company news now, Starlink Global and Ideal Limited has commissioned a 2,000 metric ton dry cocoa warehouse in Ikom local government area of Cross River State. According to the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Adeyemi Adeniji, the project is targeted at giving back to society through job creation and support cocoa exporters to grow their businesses.
All is set for the commissioning of a 2,000 metric tons capacity dry cocoa warehouse in Ikom local government area of Cross River State by Starlink Global and Ideal Limited. It's a significant step towards boosting the preservation and export of cocoa and by extension the local economy of the people, a reason they've all come out to be part of history. The vision of Starlink Global, according to the chairman and CEO of the company, Adeyemi Adeniji, is to create wealth and share it. And Ikom, which is one of the highest producers of cocoa in the country, is a worthy choice of the investment.
When we came here to buy this property about 14, 15 years ago, the real motive behind it was to encourage all foreigners from everywhere to understand that we must develop the host community.
Nigerian Export Promotion Council as well as the Cross River State government are excited over the strides and impact of Starlink Global.
If there's any firm, any company that is making us proud in Nigeria in terms of exports is Starlink. In 2021, a grant was given to the NEPC as a form of COVID relief to firms that were affected by COVID-19. Part of that grant is what you can see today.
Your action today has shown that you've not just given lip service, that you mean business. And I want to tell you that in Cross River State, we mean business.
As far as the people, as well as cocoa farmers are concerned, they no longer need to worry about joblessness.
He has brought a wonderful development. He has created room for employment.
And we are doing this to the glory of God and for the benefit of humanity.
For the management of Starlink Global, the commissioning is a demonstration of the company's commitment to the growth of the non-oil sector of the economy and sustenance of its wealth creation drive.
Let's cross over to Abuja studios, where Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us the latest from the world of business.
Thank you, Melinda. Hello and welcome to Business News. About $399.9 million, that's the amount generated as foreign direct investments in 2022. And that's according to the data from the Nigeria Communications Commission, NCC. In its latest 2022 Subscriber Network Data Annual Report, the NCC says the figure represents a 46.9% drop when compared to the $753 million recorded in 2021. The Commission adds that the industry had a domestic investment of 785.7 billion naira, operating cost of 2.9 billion naira, 3.85 billion naira revenue in the period under review. And Nigeria's foreign exchange reserve has maintained its downward trend this week as the coffers records another week of decline. Data from the central bank shows gross reserves dropped by $66.2 million week on week to close at $33.74 billion as at August the 24th. Meanwhile, multinational financial services firm JP Morgan estimates that Nigeria's net FX reserves fell to $3.7 billion at the end of last year. A report the Central Bank of Nigeria has described as misleading and out of context. The forex market trading activity at the FMDQ exchange closed negative again this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by more than 1/3% to close at $417.9 million. A further breakdown shows total value of transactions at the investors and exporters window declined by about a similar margin to $412.13 million, while transactions at the FX derivatives market rose by over 500% to $5.77 million. Also, the value of the naira depreciated further, although marginal by 0.07% to settle at 772 naira 68 kobo against the dollar at the NAFEX window when compared to 772 naira 14 kobo it closed with in the previous week. Away from the forex market now to electricity, where the Minister of Power, Mr. Adebayo Adelabu, says efforts are being made to add 700 megawatts of hydroelectricity to the national grid in a bid to improve power supply in the country. Now, speaking to journalists in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, Mr. Adelabu knows that there are more than 1,000 megawatts of renewable energy trapped in rural areas across the country, and this will serve as a boost to Nigeria's power generation if properly harnessed.
We have suffered for so long with poor power supply.
As last week's,
so it's the most criticized sector. So we have to be very, very careful the steps we are going to be taking and how we are going to revive this sector. I want to use this opportunity to allay the fears of our people and let them know that the turnaround that we're looking for all this while in the power sector is here. Inshallah, we'll do everything possible to make sure that we laid a very good foundation for stable power supply, 24/7 uninterrupted power supply in Nigeria. We know it's not something you achieve overnight, but once the foundation is laid, others can also build on it. And I can tell you that in the next 3-6 months to 1 year, we'll start seeing improvements in this sector. The president that gave us this assignment has shown that he has confidence in us. They should pray for us. They should not curse the operators of the power sector again, because there is power in the tongue. They should believe that we can do it. And I'm promising that I will put in everything within me to make sure that this sector works. Let us forget the fact that some people have been posted there and they have not really succeeded as expected. This is a new era, and I'm telling you that I will put in everything that God has given me to ensure that we have stable power supply in Nigeria.
And the equities market reversed last week's bearish performance as the all-share index advanced by 1.3% to close at 65,558.91 points, driven by investors' interest in Boa Foods, Dang Sugar and Transcorp. Analyzing activity levels, the total trading volume increased by 7.3%, while the trading value declined by 0.4% week on week. Sectoral performance was slightly mixed. The consumer goods and insurance indexes advanced, while the banking and oil and gas indexes, as well as the industrial goods indexes, declined. Associated Bass Company emerged top on the gainers leaderboard, followed by Transcorp and Dangote Sugar, while Tantalizers, Resta Express and Dow Communications were in the top 3 of the losers chart. The trio of Transnational Corporation, Fidelity Bank and Access Holdings were the major contributors on the volume chart, accounting for over 693 million shares traded in the week. And that's it on sports news. Now I want to hand over to Chris Ilem for sports.
Thank you, Victoria. Welcome to Sports News. Bendel Insurance have qualified for the next round of the CAF Confederation Cup. Bendel Insurance defeated Algerian side AS Olympique Clef 4-3 via penalty shootout in the second leg played in Algiers. The aggregate scores at full-time were 1-1 after both teams won their home games 1-0. FIFA has provisionally suspended embattled Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales from all football activities for 90 days as it investigates allegations of an unwanted kiss on the lips of World Cup winner Jenny Hermoso last Sunday. FIFA ordered Rubiales and the Spanish Football Federation not to contact Hermoso or anyone close to her. This comes after Hermoso said that she did not consent to Rubiales kissing her during this celebration in Sydney. In a swift reaction, the Spanish Football Federation has confirmed Pedro Roches would take over as interim president during Rubiales' suspension. Meanwhile, the hugely unpopular coach of Spain's World Cup winning women's team, Vilda, has been left all alone in his position after his entire backroom staff resigned in support of the midfielder Jenny Hermoso. This means Vilda is the only person left standing from the Women's World Cup triumph. Hermoso and 80 other Spain players, including the entire World Cup squad, have announced a strike in protest at Rubiales' behavior and said they will not play for the national team until the leadership changes. In the English Premier League, Bruno Fernandes' penalty completed a comeback as Manchester United fought back from a 2-goal deficit to defeat Nottingham Forest 3-2 at Old Trafford. Arsenal missed out on a comeback win at the Emirates after drawing 2-2 with Fulham. Tottenham Hotspur continued their unbeaten start under Postecoglou with a deserved 2-0 win over AFC Bournemouth. And Joaquin Adamson's second-half goal secured a valuable point for Crystal Palace against Brentford. Sasa Kalajic scored a late header to give Wolverhampton Wanderers their first win of the season. And world number one, Carlos Alcaraz, admits he occasionally craves anonymity after a breakout year that saw him emerge the hottest young talent in men's tennis. Alcaraz clinched his maiden Grand Slam singles title at the US Open last year and then followed it up with victory over Novak Djokovic in the Wimbledon final in July. The 20-year-old Spaniard is back in New York preparing to defend his US Open crown when the final Grand Slam event of the season starts on August 28th. He faces Germany's Dominik Kipper in the first round. That's it on sports, and it's back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Chris. On the international scene, in a move seen as part of a strategy to reassert his authority, President Vladimir Putin has issued a decree asking all employees of Wagner and other Russian private military contractors to take an oath of allegiance to the Russian state. This also applies to anyone participating in military activities in Ukraine, assisting the army, and serving in territorial defense units. The decree, which President Putin signed on Friday, takes immediate effect and comes 2 days after Wagner leader and others were presumed killed in a plane crash. Meanwhile, a far-right subunit of Wagner, known as Rushiki, said it was stopping military operations in Ukraine. It accused Russia's foreign ministry of failing to protect a founding member of the group, that's Jan Postovny, who has been arrested in Finland for visa violations and is facing extradition to Ukraine. The president of Namibia, Hage Geingob, is hoping that the BRICS bloc will not become like the United Nations, where some countries have less influence than others. He was speaking at a dialogue with BRICS and African leaders at the summit, where he maintained that the bloc should not be divided and must function in the best interest of its members. Namibia is not a member of the BRICS alliance. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, brings us a roundup of the summit.
Over the past 3 days, BRICS delegates engaged in intensive discussions aimed at fortifying economic and political ties among the member states. These talks took place against the backdrop of renewed calls for the Global South to assert its influence on the global stage. During the discussions, expansion took center stage. The bloc made a declaration to grant membership to 6 nations.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates.
Chinese President Xi Jinping also took some time to welcome the new members.
China congratulates these countries and highly appreciate the efforts made by our chair, South Africa, and President Ramaphosa.
Ethiopia has always been a champion and a defender of multilateralism. And the BRICS is indeed one key initiative, responding to the repeated calls for a new and inclusive multilateralism.
Namibian President Hage Geingob says BRICS structure that operates like the UN and its Security Council.
I wouldn't like to see we're going to have a BRICS, the original members, to be like the United Nations Security Council, and the rest will be others, will be General Assembly members. No veto right. In that case, we are not adding anything. We are going to have a group of original members who will be the Security Council 5 who have a veto rights. And we come in, if you come in as BRICS and others, are you going to be named one by one or just others who don't have any veto power or say? We must first report to you maybe, and then you are approved, and then we can then say we are members. That kind of a situation is not going to be good.
BRICS does believe in equality, and I can assure you there won't be any UN Security Council effect in BRICS. Countries having a veto power. Our belief in equality and respect is what really defines what BRICS is all about.
Meanwhile, at the BRICS Plus dialogue, the Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, outlined Nigeria's vision.
Our aim is to join forces with nations sharing our vision. Our aim is to foster a partnership aimed at expediting growth and sustainable development across the African continent and the global south.
What unique contributions are these new countries bringing to the bloc that are currently absent? South Africa's Sherpa, Ambassador Anil Suklal, explains.
Well, I think the 6 new countries each bring strengths to the BRICS and further consolidate our cooperation. I think it's very important to note that the 6 members are diversified from the geographical regions they come from. We have an additional country from Latin America that strengthens the presence of Latin America through Brazil and now Argentina within the BRICS.
Palestine has also applied to join the bloc. The BRICS summit comes to an end with the approval of multiple declarations. Some leaders here state that this act signifies their commitment to enhancing diplomatic ties. From Johannesburg, South Africa, at the 15th BRICS Summit, Innocent Samos, Channels Television News.
And the main news again. The federal government today restated its resolve to end crude oil theft in the country and vowed to take drastic action against the menace. The presidential delegation on the security of oil and gas assets made this declaration during its visit to Rivers and Delta states today. The president has challenged the U.S. government to collaborate with African countries to deepen democracy on the continent. He also promised to prioritize Nigeria's interest in the handling of the Niger Republic crisis by ECOWAS. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Melinda Kinlami. On behalf of the team, good night.